System isn't calcified just because it's a government monopoly. There's another stumbling block.
The teachers, united, will never be defeated.
It's a union-dominated monopoly.
The muscle and the zeal that built our union is still with us.
Teachers' unions in this country are very influential because they want to get something done or stopped. They can assemble a crowd.
20,000 people and thousands more wanted to be here.
Randy Weingarten heads New York City's teachers' union. She put out the word and thousands of teachers filled Madison Square Garden to demand a new contract with more money.
You are heroes.
Some teachers are heroes, but not all.
Most of the teachers, they don't really care.
One of my teachers tells me he does this for the health benefits.
I've seen teachers come to school intoxicated.
This seems odd because teachers I know want to help kids learn. Many turn down better paying jobs to teach. But in union schools, there's a problem.
We tolerate mediocrity, and people get paid the same, whether they're outstanding, or whether they're average, or indeed, whether they're way below average.
Joel Klein is chancellor of New York City Schools, the biggest public school system in the country.
Fourth grade is a very big year.
He says the teachers' union's rigid contract makes it very hard to fire any teacher, even dangerous ones.
I mean, we've had sex cases, acknowledged sex cases.
One teacher sent sexual emails to Cutie 101, his 16-year-old student.
This is the most unbelievable case to me because the email was there. He admitted to it. It was so thoroughly offensive.
And he confesses.
He admits it. I mean, you have the email. He admits that he did it.
You can't fire him?
It's almost impossible.
The school board says it's almost impossible to fire a teacher.
Our union has actually stepped up to the plate and said, we'll police our own profession.
Well, I'd like to police my job too, but that's not how it works in life.
Except that
bosses make these decisions.
if the cases are legitimate, they should bring them.
There are procedures. It's in the contract. If teachers incompetent, they can be let go.
It takes years.
These are the steps a principal must follow to fire a bad teacher. Look at this thing.
The teachers' union got so many protections to make sure principals don't fire unfairly or play favorites that principals rarely even try to jump through all these hoops to fire a bad teacher. In the last 2 years, said Klein, only 2 tenured teachers out of 50,000 had been fired for incompetence.
It makes no sense. And you don't know other places where this goes on. This is not like you can say they're doing this at IBM or some other place, right? This is unique to our environment.
I'm not sure I understand how to manage a government civil service organization.
GE's Jack Welch was revered as a great manager. He says if an organization is to stay vital, it must reward its best workers, and the bottom 10% have to go.
We tell people in the bottom 10, look, you got a year. Find yourself somewhere to go. And they do.
By doing that, he made GE unbelievably successful. But what he did at GE is forbidden at most public schools.
We have a system in which we don't distinguish among people. And as a result of that, we don't reward excellence.
Why don't you reward excellence?
Because it's barred by the contract.
Ah, yes, the union contract. Here it is, more than 200 pages of fine print. Union monopolies often create documents like this.
It's not just 200-page contract. You got all these addenda that are incorporated into the contract. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages more. So it is a regulatory nightmare.
So much so that he couldn't just fire that teacher who sent those sexual emails.
Up, down, around, everywhere. We've paid him. He hasn't taught, but we have had to pay him because that's what's required under the contract.
Paid him more than $300,000. Only after 6 years of expensive litigation were they finally able to fire him. Hundreds of teachers who the city calls incompetent, racist, dangerous, or guilty of sexual misconduct have been paid millions.
You know what do they do with those teachers? Well, they put them in the rubber room. That's what they call it. It's not really made of rubber, but it's a big empty room in this building and 4 other buildings around town. Because they don't want these teachers to get near the kids, so they just come here and sit, hang around, read magazines, waste time, and waste your money.
They wouldn't allow it. They support the firing rules.
What if a principal says, you're a lousy teacher, I want to fire you?
That's not
prove it. You prove I'm a bad teacher. If you can't prove it, don't try it.
Everywhere, unions resist the practice that made GE and other organizations successful. Weed out the bad.
There aren't really bad teachers.
The rules must stand, say unions everywhere.
Wisconsin public schools are great schools.
That scores are up.
The teachers' unions spend millions on ads saying the schools are great.
There's an explosion of excellence in New York public schools.
Since the schools are excellent, they say, don't mess around with our rules and benefits.
Permit members to retire without penalty at age 55. Teachers would work uniform 6 hours and 40-minute days at all levels.
Which is what normally happens in the private sector.
Really? She says her teachers should work regular hours, but how many of you work a uniform 6-hour, 40-minute day? But the union is powerful, and a few months after our interview, Weingarten got a new contract.
This is a really good day.
Look at the smiles. In exchange for a 15% raise, the union made concessions. For example, they agreed to work 10 minutes a day longer. They say it will be easier to get rid of sex offenders, but it will still take all these steps to fire an incompetent teacher.
Unionized monopolies like yours fail. And in this case, it's the children who you are failing.
We are not a unionized monopoly, and ultimately, those folks who want to say this all the time, they don't really care about kids.
Those who criticize a monopoly don't care about kids? Please. But the union doesn't take criticism quietly. Several months after Stupid in America was originally broadcast, hundreds of union teachers showed up on our doorstep to point at me and say, "Shame on you." School problems aren't the union's fault, they said. There are other reasons kids struggle.
If you wanted our kids to have a good education, you'd build more schools and make smaller classes.
We are here to demand an apology from 2020's John Stossel for his anti-teacher, anti-union, and anti-public education piece of yellow journalism. Who are we? UFT! Who are we? UFT!
The UFT, the United Federation of Teachers, said I was wrong to criticize the union.
John Stossel has never taught in a classroom, yet he's an expert on education.
I wanted to hear more, but the protesters drowned us out.
Let's start listening!
After an hour, the union president made me an offer.
So just teach for a week.
She said she'd arrange for me to lead a class for a week. They'd even help prepare me. That would educate me.
We got high schoolers, we got elementary school, we got junior high school,
The crowd liked that idea.